بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين وصلى اللهم وسلم وزد وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. So you can see what I have here. But before we start, inshallah, from last week, what did we speak about last week? Anybody can remember? What did we speak about last week? Who can be Imam? Very good. So the kalam we have, or what we are talking about, is about Salatul Jama'ah, right? And last week we spoke about Salatul Jama'ah from the position of the Imam. From the position of the Imam, we had questions like who should be the Imam, who should lead the Salah, etc., etc., etc. Today, Barakallahu Fikum, we want to speak about Salatul Jama'ah from the perspective of the Ma'mum, of the person following the Imam, inshallah. And there's a couple of questions regarding that. So we want to delve into that. I don't have too many questions today because last week we had loads of questions from your side. So let's see, we have similar today, inshallah. Also, before we want to start, for those who are at home, you can ask questions, inshallah, on the in the comments on the YouTube channel, if you wish, inshallah, and I will check in the end. Will yet be the first. No one has asked. There's more and more people watching from home and from other countries as well, but no questions online yet. So if you have a question, inshallah, you know the rule, inshallah. If you don't understand something to the question which we are doing, then you can ask directly, and if you have any other additional questions, we'll do that at the end. So let me start, inshallah, with the first question, which is a very, very actual, contemporary question, and it is to do with Salatul Jama'ah, and it's about the coronavirus, or the COVID-19 as it is known, virus. And the question many people get connecting that to the Jama'ah, to the congregation, is: can we still come? Should we still come? Do we have to come to the masjid for the Salatul Jama'ah, even if we hear the adhan, given the fact with the whole hysteria and the whole questions in the news about the coronavirus? Before I give my 2 cents about it, what do you think? Go on.
No, because it said that if you have a disease, stay at home.
Okay. Masha, what's your name again? Abdulaziz. Abdulaziz said, no, you stay at home. That's it. So why are you here then? Because your dad told you.
I don't have the virus.
Because you don't have the virus. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. Very good. Very good. So there's 2 questions. In fact, what you answered is correct, but there's 2 questions here. The first question is, what if you don't have any symptoms of a virus and no one else in the masjid has any symptoms of the virus? And then the second question, what if you do have the symptoms of the virus? Okay? Do we agree on that? There's a differentiation? Because some people like to make it umum, right? They like to speak in generality. And you see fatwas, cancel the jama'ah, cancel the Jummah, cancel this, cancel that. And I personally feel that there is extremes on 2 sides and the middle path. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. You can see that there's one extreme which says, oh, come on, it's just another virus. It's less even than the flu. It'll happen. Everybody will get it. And no, what's the hype and what's the drama and so on and so forth. And I think that is belittling the situation. The coronavirus, true, fact is that there are other viruses out there which have a bigger mortality rate, right? People always mention influenza and so on and so forth, right? That the mortality rate when people get that virus is bigger than the coronavirus. So why don't we put that forward, right? However, you need to see that there is quite a difference. First of all, we still not have any kind of medicine to tackle it. You get it. There is no vaccination against it. The second thing is not just the virus which is the problem, it's what the virus will produce if a large portion of the nation gets it. So we are speaking here about the health system, for example, the NHS, which would be absolutely overwhelmed because it is such a virus that will spread and is spreading so quickly. I mean, today it was announced that it is now a global epidemic, right? That is the latest kind of thing. And it spread so quickly. If now everyone gets it at once and everyone gets, takes the services of the NHS will collapse. And then even people who have other more serious conditions, they don't have operations, they don't have this. The doctors are basically, it's just overwhelming. So that is an aspect, and this is not to be belittled. Also, what it can have in terms of what it can cause economically, when people stay at home, etc., etc. I mean, people are already saying we are heading towards another recession, like in 2008? Yeah. And you know what happened after that, how the salaries didn't go up, but everything else went up. And this is huge. So belittling it is not the solution. Now you have the other extreme, which is, oh my God. I mean, I work in a school and sometimes, parents, no, I'm not going to send my children no more to school. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. My son has been asking me for a while now to write him a letter to dispense him from school, right? But that's not the solution either, right? It's not how it works. So don't go to either extreme, right? We're not saying it is nonsense, but we're not comparing it to the plague, because the plague it's not an epidemic on that level yet. But that mortality rate for the plague was what? Depending on which kind of plague, between 40 to 100%, right? That's it. You're dying. The coronavirus, I think up till the age of 40, even if you get it, the mortality rate is 0.2%. You can see it. So don't go to either extreme, but the Muslims is always balanced in the middle. Now, having said that, and the reason why I mention this is our stance, especially when it comes to Jum'ah and Jama'ah, etc., 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 is to listen to who? In this particular situation, who do we listen to? Who do we listen to? Sorry?
Imam.
The Imam? Well, let me rephrase the question then. Who does the Imam listen to? The authorities. And there is an established rule in Islam. فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. I mean, it was a specific ayah for a specific purpose, but the generality is established in the Sharia. Ask the experts if you don't know. And in this case, I'm no expert. I think Jurgen Klopp said the same thing when he was asked about the coronavirus the other day. The Liverpool manager. So why do you ask me? I'm no expert in this, right? Why do you ask me? Why is my opinion even valid here? And he's right. Well, what is my opinion doing here? The authorities have the money, the budget, and the expertise to get the best people, from the entire country, from the nation, get them together and establish facts. And if the authorities say, this is how we're going to go, then this is how we're going to go. If they say, in Switzerland, for example, any gathering over 1,000 people has been banned. Football matches, concerts, everything has been banned. Now, we're not here yet in the UK, but maybe the next stage. So in this case, we're listening to who? The authorities. And I want Muslims to be very clear about that. We listen to the authorities when it comes to these things, right? If they say, you're going to be doing this or that to prevent a national catastrophe here, etc., etc., you're going to be listening. We're following here. And there's an established rule in Sharia to do exactly that. Now, without going into details, inshallah. Now, so do not send videos and messages without proving them. There may be fake news in there or fake facts in there. Everybody just sharing, everybody just scaremongering, and don't do that. Send established facts. I mean, yesterday was a good example, yeah? When the pictures of Mecca and Medina went around social media, empty, right? I send them as well. I send the same pictures, and they were empty. There's no problem with that. But then the people started to, add. They saw the picture. Ya Allah, Tawaf has stopped. Oh my God, is this the end time? Is the Dajjal coming? Whoa, where are you going with this? La ilaha illallah. And then you see a video that it was actually just the Kaaba, which was closed. The Tawaf was still doing, and it has nothing to do with Dajjal and has nothing to do with the end times. It happened before. It's nothing, Calm down. Calm down. Generally calm down. So number one, be balanced in your approach. Establish facts. Don't go to either extremes. Number two, listen to the authorities when it comes to prevention generally, and listen to the authorities as well when it comes to general tips of how to protect yourself and your family. And that brings me to point number three. As Muslims, we follow the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, aqidatan wa fiqhan. In terms of aqidah, is to do with qadr. This coronavirus reminds us of qadr. Can anyone stop anyone dying in here? Can anyone stop anyone? If that is your qadr, hatman it will happen. Even if you're the only case in the entire country, and the chances for you to get it and then die because of it, etc., is 0.000001. If that is your qadr, you are that one. You are that one. And if it is not you, you can live in the middle in China where it happened, on that market. You can live there and give everyone hands. If that is not your qadr, it won't happen. Do you understand this? This is the qadr of Allah. This is the qadr of Allah. And as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was saying to Aisha radiallahu anha, when they spoke about death, and Aisha radiallahu anha was saying to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this is nothing we're looking forward to. No one looks forward to death. Everybody is like kind of scared. So what did the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam say to her? Whoever loves to meet Allah, Allah loves to meet him. And whoever hates to meet Allah, then Allah hates to meet him. We don't wish for death, but we prepare for death. Because death is a fact. Sooner or later. We don't wish for death, but we prepare for it. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us from those who love to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah make us from those. Allahumma nas'alullah, as'aluka ya Allah, ladhat al-nadhr ila wajhika al-kareem. We ask Allah the sweetness of looking at the face of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, looking at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as it is mentioned. We're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us from them, inshallah. That is from the aqidah side. Accept it. But from the fiqh side, we know that we are ordered to try to take precautions. So we're not just like, guys, the qadr of Allah, let me do whatever now, right? That's not how it works, because you're bringing destruction upon yourself, upon your family, upon the jama'ah, upon the community. That's not what you ordered. So you take precautions along with the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So first of all, I found this here. I just came in, I found this here behind me. There's all a stack over there. Seems somebody has printed this, right? Here we go. Dua for protection from coronavirus. Yes, I don't know who printed this, but is this something we should be doing? Yes, of course. I wouldn't call it coronavirus because it's a dua against any kind of sickness. I get it. But now, because the coronavirus is, the thing is, yes, of course, you're making dua, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika minal barasi wal junun, and then the whole dua. And then there's other duas as well. Make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Make dua that Allah protects you and your family and your loved ones and your neighbors and the Muslim community. Make dua. That's one. Second thing, take in account how the Prophet ﷺ was emphasizing the importance of cleanliness for the Muslims, right? Generally speaking, right? From that is, when you sneeze, for example, what do you do? What do you do when you sneeze? Sorry? What was the sunnah, generally speaking, when you sneeze? You sneeze into a cloth. Into a cloth. Sometimes the Sahaba radiallahu anhum used to sneeze into the inner elbow like this, right? Or into a part of their cloth, or if they have a turban. My point is, you don't go and let it go. And we know that also from modern medicine nowadays, that this is really, one of the major issues here. And that's just one example. There are plenty of examples of how you do. And if the doctors today say, minimize, for example, shaking hands, minimize this, then minimize. There's no problem. Even if we say it is a sunnah. There's a lot of ulama, by the way, who say that the sunnah when it comes to salam is to say assalamu alaikum. Shaking hands, according to some scholars, is only sunnah when you haven't seen a person for a long time. It's not sunnah that you go every time salam alaikum. So nowadays, when we have this, and the doctors say minimize it, then minimize it. No big deal. Even if it is sunnah, minimize it because it's a special circumstance. Yeah? Now, and other things, everything to do with cleanliness, listen, wash your hands, keep clean, all of the things you need to do, do it, generally speaking. So, listen to the authorities, be balanced, listen to authorities, and then establish the qadr of Allah in your actions, establish the qadr in your actions, and then also in terms of fiqh, establish the sunnah of the Prophet. So with this whole thing, I didn't want to go into too much detail, but with all of this said, we now come to the question here. Should we abandon the jama'ah generally? Well, if it is not known that a certain community, masjid, part of London, part of the district has any high level of corona issues, etc., then it is business as usual. It is what? Business as usual. You come to the masjid, you try to take precautions, but it wouldn't prevent you of coming to the masjid. Having said that, 2 weeks back we spoke about whether it is wajib or not, and we established that the majority of scholars say what? Even if you live next to the masjid and you can definitively hear the adhan, what is the view of the majority of scholars when it comes to coming to the masjid to pray the 5 daily prayers? Sorry?
It's not sin.
It is not wajib, according to the majority. Okay? And we said that the Hanabila say it is wajib to come. And some other scholars as well. But the point is, the majority says it isn't wajib. So I don't want anyone to go around and say, oh my God, you are a sinner, fasiq, a'udhu billah, haram, astaghfirullah, and so on and so forth. Yes? Generally saying. Obviously, I don't want to say don't come to the masjid. Obviously, you come to the masjid. I need to reiterate that again and again. I encourage you to come to the masjid. I want you to come to the masjid. The reward is huge, etc., etc., etc. And the Hanabila have a really strong evidence for that. But I'm not going to repeat the entire mas'ala here. I need you to know that, right? However, if you see that there are symptoms of the coronavirus you're getting, symptoms, you don't even know whether you have it or not, but there are symptoms, generally speaking. What's the hukum now? What's the hukum? What's the ruling? According to some scholars, not just that it isn't wajib anymore, not just that it isn't mustahab anymore, not just that it isn't mubah or makruh anymore, it now becomes for you haram to come to the masjid. Why?
Actually endangering others.
Because you are endangering the community. You understand this? You are endangering the community. Now don't take this lightly. Don't say, oh, astaghfirullah, I can't go to the masjid. It's not like that. It's not playing around. Got to be sincere in your intentions, right? We are mature enough to know the difference, right? We're not playing around with the ahkam here. But my point is that if you see that there is a serious problem, you isolate yourself, you stay at home, that's it, end of story. And there's complete justification from a Sharia point of view. In fact, as many scholars have said, it becomes haram for you to go. Especially when we know that a lot of the musallis coming to the masjid today are elderly people. Elderly people. People who are, elderly, and if they would get the coronavirus, they are much more likely to actually suffer. Yes? And a lot of musallis, especially over proportionate, again, the Muslims suffer from certain illness like diabetes and other things. So you've got to be careful. You've got to be careful about it. Does this make sense to everyone? Right, is this clear, this question now? Yes? I think this is this is obviously, it's a kind of the qadr of Allah that we are speaking about jama'ah, and the whole thing comes up now. But I think the connection is very important. Any questions regarding that?
What if you have a very bad cold? Forget this virus. The same situation applies.
It depends on how bad it is. If it is really,
if it's going to spread to someone else, which colds tend to do.
If it is really bad, yes, it can reach the level where you say, okay, I want to stay at home. I want to stay at home. Yes. Yes.
What if you find out that you have a symptom of coronavirus while you're praying?
And once you're praying, well, I guess you finish the salah and make your way home. That's it. What, you want to break your salah then and there? Alas, you're here already. Okay, don't sneeze to anyone or something. Yes. Yes.
What do you do about Jummah then?
Jummah.
Yeah.
Same.
Right home.
Same thing. Same. If you see the symptoms, you stay at home. Okay. If you are staying at home, Jummah, what are you doing? You're praying Jummah? You're giving yourself a khutbah? No, if you're praying at home, you're praying Dhuhr. You're praying Dhuhr instead. Yes? But don't play around with that. Okay? I don't want to see anyone going to Sainsbury and then coming home and saying, I can't go to the masjid. Coronavirus. It's just been to Sainsbury's or Tesco's or whatever. Don't play around. What's going on here? Right? If you are serious about it, you can't go to the masjid because of that, then don't go anywhere else as well. Stay at home. Yeah? No. Right. Any other questions?
What if people are healthy but
Sorry?
what if people are healthy but authority says no?
What if people are healthy but?
It's spreading more in that case. So
Yeah, well, if you are living in an area where there is such a high rate of coronavirus incidents, etc., and the authorities say any kind of gathering is now banned, khalas, establish the salah at home. Yes. And according to some madhahib, there will be certain people who would come here, like the Imam, the Mu'adhin, etc., to establish the Jama'ah in the masjid, but the general population would be excused and stay at home. And that's a very high. That's now we are speaking not just about the global epidemic. Now we are speaking about something that is on the level of the plague, etc. Now we are in a complete different scenario. But it may reach to that level. It may reach to that point. Okay, next question. What is the ruling on someone who prays in congregation but is situated in front of the Imam knowingly or unknowingly? Can you see the point here? Yes? Does this ever happen? Is this ever happening? The Imam is praying, behind him a Jama'ah, and there are certain people who are not behind him but in front of him. In front of him. Has this ever happened?
yes.
When? Or where?
Some places where they're playing outside. Not in this country, maybe like other countries.
So it may happen that the Imam is inside the masjid and then it's so full that the people are praying outside and they don't know, and it happened that their saf starts to becoming in front of them. Yeah? Well, sorry? Sometimes upstairs. In this country, actually, it was a couple of years ago, I was in a masjid during Taraweeh, and I know where the Imam stands because I'm giving khutbah in this masjid. Not in this, is a different masjid. Well, even in here, I guess it could happen. So be careful, right? Even here, right? And the people on the second and third floor, I see that the front saf, and I'm going out and I'm checking and I'm looking and I'm trying to give the angle and whatnot. And I'm saying, no, I don't. What, two saf at least are in front of the Imam. So I'm going to the Imam of the masjid. I'm saying, I'm sorry, but these first two saf, they will be careful. They're in front of the Imam. What did he say to me? Anyway,
No space.
he said difference of opinion. Right. Point being, in Mecca, it doesn't happen, right? Can it happen in Mecca? Can you be in front of the Imam in Mecca? Very difficult, right? That's the only place where it's really difficult to be in front of the Imam because the saf is round, right? Now, but in Medina, I've seen it a lot of times, and they've put now the signs. This is the saf of the Imam, so do not pray in front. You can see that on the whole level, that people are warned and people are going around and telling, don't pray, especially ladies sometimes pray in their own little pockets in front of the Imam. So what is the hukum? What is the ruling there? Generally speaking, we have the Hanafis who say salah becomes invalid, end of. Okay, and I'm highly summarizing here. I mean, there's so much detail. Hanafis say it becomes invalid. Malikis say no, it's valid. The madhab of Imam Malik does not regard this as an invalid salah. Now, obviously, they say it's better to pray behind, etc., 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 but they don't invalidate this salah. Sorry?
Malik is saying invalid.
So that's my mistake here. Okay, that's a mistake here. I need to. Here we go. Jazakallah khair for mentioning. Here we go. Happy now? Good? Jazakallah khair. Alhamdulillah. MashaAllah. See how quickly you can correct? Alhamdulillah. It's not like I'm correcting here, but that's. I'm not just changing an entire madhab around. The Shafi'is say that salah becomes invalid, and also the Hanbalis say the salah becomes invalid. So the absolute majority of scholars, barakallahu fikum, say do not pray in front of the Imam. Do not pray in front of the Imam. However, there is at least one big madhab, one big school of thought, curriculum, whatever you want to call it in English, right? Which says that that salah is not invalid. That salah is not invalid. And they go into details as to why, etc., etc., etc. Obviously, the adillah here are even blurry. I mean, the main dalil here that you have to pray behind the Imam is the hadith which we have mentioned many, many times before, which is what? That the Imam has been established to be followed, yeah? To be followed, and that entails that you pray behind. And the sunnah, the general sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which says that, you know, obviously that you pray next to him if you are only one person, or behind him, etc. You never had that someone prays before in front. The Malikis obviously go to the point, and there's a huge discussion, but I go to the point here that, you know, there's no clear-cut dalil, and how can we invalidate something without a clear-cut dalil, etc., etc., etc. But my point is the jumhur here is clear, so don't play with your salah and pray behind the Imam. Now, any questions? Still good to know that there's at least one opinion which doesn't invalidate salah. So somebody who has prayed not knowingly, are you going to ask the person to re-pray or not? There's a point. You can ask. According to the Jumhur, he would need to retake his salah. But if he has done it not knowingly, inshallah, the salah is accepted. If he wants to repeat, be on the safe side, that's a different thing. But it's not like, oh my God, you know, it's completely out of place here. Now, next question. If a person joins the congregation late, and this happens so many times, like almost every salah. If a person joins the congregation late, what exactly constitutes as having caught up with a rak'ah? Yes, i.e., when can the ma'moom, the one who follows the imam, count a rak'ah, and when does he or she need to repeat it? Is the question clear? Yes? What's the hukum here? Yes? Before the scene of Sami Allahu liman hamidah. Okay, so generally speaking, this is quite clear. The adillah, or the evidence for that, is manifold. One of the most clear-cut ones here is, apart from the hadith, is the saying of Abdullah ibn Umar radiyallahu anhu, should be anhuma here. Again, my mistake. Radiyallahu anhuma, who said, whoever catches up with the imam when he is bowing, i.e. doing ruku', and bows before the imam raises his head, he has caught up with that rak'ah. Or if you want to be even more precise, yes, if you manage to catch with your hand, your knees before the Imam says Sami Allahu liman, or Sami Allahu liman hamd, before you hear it, then you have caught up with that particular rak'ah. And there is many details as to, but the ulama are all agreed on that. Every single madhab has the same position. The ruku' is the defining line. The details here are only whether you need to have tum'anina or not, whether touching is enough, etc. So there's slight details. So some scholars say, for example, you have to go into ruku' and be completely still for a while, and then only it will start to count. Whilst others say if you touch and you're in ruku', it counts. You know, these are the slight details there. But generally speaking, everybody agrees that it is the ruku' which is the defining issue here in terms of whether the rak'ah counts or not. Now, there is, however, a slight difference as to what happened in the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There was one Sahabi radiallahu anhu, I think it was Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, who was very eager. So he saw that the people are in the ruku'. They're praying behind the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they're in ruku'. And he came walking. And when he saw that he may miss the rak'ah, what he did is what? Whilst he was walking still, he said, Allahu Akbar. And then he went into ruku', Allahu Akbar. And then he was walking. And once he was in ruku', he was joining the salah. You get it? Yes? You understand the picture here? So afterwards, the Prophet ﷺ said to him, he was commending him for his eagerness of jama'ah. But he was also telling him, don't do that again. This kind of thing, don't do it again. Question is, if someone was to do it again, would the salah count or not? You understand the question? According to the Jumhur, it would count. The Hanafis, the Malikis, and the Shafi'is say if someone was to do the same action, the rak'ah would count. And the only ones who disagree are the Hanbalis. The Hanbalis say it doesn't count unless he is in ruku', in the saf, in ruku'. Only then he has caught up with that rak'ah. Yes? So why this, why that? Obviously the Hanbalis say the Prophet ﷺ said don't do it again. And the Jumhur said yes, and he may not be rewarded for particular that. He may even done something that is makruh. But the Prophet ﷺ did not tell to that Sahabi to go and repeat his salah. It's valid. He didn't say go and do it again, your salah. So you can see where the differences is here. So the Jumhur would say it counts, whereas the Hanbalis say it doesn't count. Right. Another question when it comes to this here is, what exactly are you making up? Now listen very carefully. This here is important. When you, let's say, pray Isha. How many rak'ah has Isha? 4 rak'ah. And you come in the second rak'ah. You miss the first one. And you say, Allahu Akbar. You join the Imam during ruku'. Right. Now you're praying. That rak'ah counts for you or not? Counts or not? It counts. You joined in during ruku'. What is this rak'ah for you? For the Imam is the second. What is it for you? Is it the first or is it the second? Look, if it is the first, you pray first, then the third for the Imam is your second, the fourth of the Imam is your third. You're making up what? You're making up, when you stand after salam, you get up. What is it, what you're making up? That is your 4th rak'ah. That's one opinion. The other opinion is that this is also your 2nd rak'ah. Imam's 2nd rak'ah is your 2nd rak'ah. Imam's 3rd rak'ah is your 3rd rak'ah. Imam's 4th rak'ah is your 4th rak'ah. What are you making up after salam? You're making up your 1st rak'ah because that's the one you missed. Can you see the difference here? So the Hanafis and some of the Malikis are of this opinion, the second one, whilst the Hanbalis are on this on the first scenario. What's the difference when you make up? What's the difference?
Surah.
Whether you say Subhanakallah wa bihamdik, Subhanallah wa bihamdik wa tabarak ismuka wa ta'ala jaddik wa la ilaha ghayruk, a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, bismillahir rahmanir rahim, Surah Al-Fatiha, and the surah after Surah Al-Fatiha. If you say that's my first rak'ah I'm making up, then you have to say all of that because that is what you missed. However, if you say like the Hanbalis, for example, or some of the Hanabila, that it is the second rak'ah, the third, and then you're making up basically becomes your fourth rak'ah, you're not saying none of that. You're just saying Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, you recite Surah Al-Fatiha, that's it. Can you see where we're going with this? Yeah. So again, both opinions are valid. Both opinions are going back to the same hadith. It's just istinbat. It's just what you understand. It goes back to the method you want to choose. It goes back. Me personally, I choose the fact that when I join in the second rak'ah, that's my first, because that's for me is the first, and then it goes on like that. So my last one would be my fourth. So I would recite Surah Al-Fatiha only, and I would finish there. But both opinions are valid. Both opinions are valid. Now,
What about Shafi?
sorry.
Shafi,
As I said, Shafis, as far as I know, I can check it for you again. Shafis, as far as I like the Hanafis, let me check it here. Here we go. Shafi has both opinions. There you go. Both are mentioned. وقال الشافعي هو أولها حكما ومشاهد. Actually, the Shafi madhab itself is that it is the أولها. That is the beginning. That it is your beginning, your first rak'ah. Al-Muhim, the narrations are, even within the madhahib, are mixed. So whatever you take here, it's valid. But me personally, I'm taking from the teachers I learned from, so this is how I handle it. Yes.
You said that they both go back to the same hadith.
Yes.
Can you see the hadith?
I can bring it to you next week. Yeah. But it's basically the hadith where it tells you to make up what you have missed. Where the Prophet ﷺ said, the hadith, one of the hadiths they go back to is, and I'm sure you read this hadith, is that when you walk towards the masjid, you shouldn't run. Yes? You know this hadith. Don't run towards the masjid, even if the jama'ah is already in progress. Why? Why? What happens if you run towards the masjid? Bilal.
Get out of breath and stuff.
Yeah, you're coming to the masjid and you're joining. Where is your focus then? You get it? So the Prophet ﷺ said what? When you go to the masjid, walk. And then he said what? Whatever you manage to catch up with, you caught up with. And whatever you have missed, you make up. So the word make up here, if you translate the Arabic, the word make up, that's where the ulama disagreed. How do you understand make up? Whatever you have missed, make up. What exactly? Whatever you have missed, as in missed, or as in missed later on. Do you get my point here? You can understand it from both sides. Do you understand both ways? That's the hadith basically. Yes?
So when you join, if you miss the first rak'ah and you're saying that the first option you don't have to read subhanallah, that's what he said, right? If
Yes.
you're following the first method, which is the 100 one, where you say, look, if you join the second rak'ah, that's your first rak'ah.
Exactly, because for you, although for the Imam it's the second rak'ah, for you it's the first. And then you go on the way. So the Imam finishes the fourth rak'ah, you have prayed 3. So you come to the hadith, whatever you have missed, you make it up. So what do you have missed? I missed the fourth rak'ah, right? So I'm making up the fourth rak'ah. But the Hanafis say, no, wait a second. The Imam's second rak'ah is your second rak'ah. And it goes on like that. And what you have missed is your first rak'ah. So you make it up. And it also has to do with exactly where do you then do tashahhud as well. In some instances, you've got to be careful as to which opinion you take. That will depend on how you do tashahhud. Having said that, I have a riddle for you. Is it possible, in any case, that Salatul Maghrib, you got it already, you're not allowed. You're not allowed. Is it possible that Salatul Maghrib at any point has 4 tashahhud? 4 tashahhud. Without, listen carefully, without having any mistakes in it. So I'm not speaking about extraordinary occasions where you make a mistake and you do sujood al-sahw or 4 tashahhud. You know what I mean with tashahhud, yeah? 4 times you got at-tahiyyatu lillahi and so on and so forth. Is it possible or not? If you say yes or no, you have to prove it to me. No, not you. You got it. I mean, we spoke about that like 10 years ago. Come on. It's a riddle. Yes.
So if you join the second rakah,
The second rakah.
but you don't catch the second rakah.
So you're joining the Imam after he says, Sami Allahu liman hamida.
And then that's one tashahhud.
Okay, now let's go. So that rakah doesn't count.
Yeah.
But you're praying with the Imam. So the Imam is going to say tashahhud. That tashahhud doesn't count for you, right? But you're still there. You're still with the Imam. That will be 1 tashahhud. Now you're getting up. The Imam is now in the third rakah. After the third rakah, the Imam would make tashahhud. That is for you, your first rakah. So you said already 2 tashahhuds now, but none of them actually is in your right. Now the Imam says, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. You're getting up and you're praying your second rakah. After the second rakah, you're making what? Tashahhud. That would be your third tashahhud. And after the third rakah, you make the final 4th tashahhud. Did you get it? Now you all learn the riddle, inshallah. You can ask that, inshallah. So it is possible that Salatul Maghrib, which usually only has 2 tashahhud, can have legally and technically 4 tashahhud in your heart. Yes.
Sometimes you join the congregation, you recruit, but there's some sort of doubt whether you caught it or not. So if you have that doubt, is it better to make it up and consider that you didn't catch it?
Also, first of all, don't have doubts. I know exactly where you're coming from. I have the same problem. But this is a moment where you've got to be very, very careful. So what you need to have extra focus, because you know that this is a moment where you can have doubts. And you know a moment where the shaitan can come and start to play around with you. So be very, very careful. Allahu Akbar, and pay attention. Touch with your hands your knees. And if the Imam didn't say anything, don't even look. If the Imam didn't say anything, that rakah counts. The problem comes when you say Allahu Akbar and you go down and you're not really focused, and then the Imam is Sami Allahu, and then you come like, oh my God, did I now touch? Did I don't touch? I don't know exactly.
It's normally coincides to the point when you touch him and he says,
Yeah, well,
that's what I mean.
Yeah. Well, in that moment, there is I read it a long time ago, but I think it was Imam al-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala who said that this would be similar like you doubt a rak'ah in your salah. It will be similar to the situation as if you doubt a rak'ah in salah. Now, let's say you doubt in a Salatul Isha. You come and you pray, and all of a sudden, because you've been off-minded, so did I pray 3 or 4 rak'ah? Ya Allah. I know I've done tashahhud after 2, but I don't know whether this is my 3rd or my 4th rak'ah. What do you do in this moment? What do you do in this moment? 2 things you have to do. Number 1, you build upon what is yaqeen. You build upon what is established. So if there is a genuine, and now we've got to be careful, because people are sometimes starting to doubt, and they doubt every salah after that. And then becomes what? It becomes marad, it becomes a sickness. And we've got to be careful about that, because a Muslim shouldn't go into that. It's a trap of shaitan. He wants to bring you away from salah completely. But if there's a genuine doubt, you build upon what is established, which means that you make it 3. If you doubt whether it is 3 or 4 rak'ah, what is established is that it is your 3rd. That is established. The doubt is if you have prayed 4. So that's the first thing you need to do. You establish your 3rd rak'ah, but because you have a doubt, you would do what in the end? You would do sujood al-sahw. Yes? So you treat it, if you have a genuine doubt, you would treat it as your 3rd rak'ah, but because of the doubt and because it is the possibility that you may have prayed 5 now, you're making sujood al-sahw at the end of salah. And we will come to sujood al-sahwi. I will tell you then inshallah when exactly. So Imam al-Nawawi compares and says, if there is a genuine coincidence, a genuine case where you are not sure whether you caught up with this rak'ah, it is similar to the doubt of whether I have prayed 4 rak'ah. You are genuinely doubting whether this rak'ah is established or not. So you would do the same. So you would not take this as caught up. You would pray as if you didn't catch the rak'ah, and you would do sujood sahwi in the end. Does it make sense? Yeah. But usually it shouldn't come to this position. Usually you should be focused to the point that you are clear, touching the hands, and then you're doing. Is that clear for everyone? Yes?
Is there a difference of opinion in terms of the Imam saying Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, if the people following it also have to say Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam?
Yeah, there are some scholars who say you can say it as well. There are some scholars, yes.
What's the majority?
As far as I know is that the Imam says Sami Allahu liman hamida, you say Rabbana wa lakal hamd. But there are certainly some scholars who say that it is allowed, or in some cases even mustahab. Yes, I don't know the details about that. Now, any other questions? Yes.
Not in Jama. If I pray in Isha, in third rakat or fourth rakat, if I recite any surahs, and how does that affect?
If you forget to, if you are accidentally saying a surah after Surah Al-Fatiha in the third and the fourth rakah of, let's say, Salatul Isha, yeah, labas. There are even some scholars who say you should do it. That doesn't affect your salah. The sunnah, the established sunnah, as I know and I learned, is that you don't say any surah after Surah Al-Fatiha, and I think that's the majority position, in the third or the fourth rakah. Third in Maghrib, fourth in Zuhr, and Asr and then Isha, right? But if you are saying it, then that doesn't affect your salah. Your salah is still valid, and there is no sujood sahwi required. Yes? Same when it comes to tashahhud, in the middle. When you say Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh, and sometimes you just, because you're forgetful, you just carry on. That's after the second rakah. You go, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala, and then it's my second rakah. You get up, you complete, no sujood sahwi required, according to some scholars, according to my teachers. And I will tell you the more details, inshallah, when you come to sujood sahwi. But the way I learned it, that there is nothing is required. Get up, pray your third rakah, pray your fourth rakah, complete as if nothing happened. Yes?
If I did it my confident and I prayed, I finished it. Someone was watching me, telling me, "Oh, you prayed only 3." In that case, do I need to repeat? Right?
Well, it depends how trustworthy the person is. If you had that's a case-by-case scenario. Generally speaking, once the ibadah is over, right? But if you had doubt and somebody confirms, then yes, there may be a case where you need to make up. Okay?
You need to complete pray again, or
that is the next question now. Okay? Whether you need to complete the entire salah or just that rakah. Because according to somebody who hasn't been praying with you reminded you of it, especially in the Hanafi madhab, that will come here. But generally speaking, barakallahu fikum, I mean, all of these questions are questions of shak and doubts, and a Muslim should try, and I'm saying that and I'm suffering from that as well. I know exactly where we are. But let's try our level best to establish salah and be upon yaqeen. I mean, just read Surah Al-Ma'un. الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنْ صَلَاتِهِمْ sahun. Allah said, bringing a bad example about those who are neglectful towards their salah. When they pray their sahun, they are far away with their mindless, or not focused, no humility, no khushu'. And this is what we do sometimes in our salah today. No focus, no khushu', tick box exercise. Let's do it quickly on the side. This is not how salah was in the time of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum. The 5 daily prayers were the highlights of the day. Highlights of the day. You're looking forward to it. Yes? And this is how it should be. So let's try to, inshallah, try to establish it more. Now, can a person follow the Imam whilst having a barrier, a wall, a path, a river, etc., dividing between him and her and the congregation? Now, that is quite a long. Do you want to take it today or next week? Today or next week? Yes? Okay, right. Here we go. I'll keep it as short as possible. Keep it as short as possible. There is no clear-cut evidence here. There are some riwayat of Sahaba praying on rooftops behind the Imam. This is where we're going here. So it goes very much back to the fiqh of the madhahib. That's where it goes back to the fiqh of the madhahib, whether that is valid or not. And it goes deep. It goes deep, deep, deep. Especially today, this is actually quite contemporary. Where can you have this established here? Where can this happen? Yeah, so if you go Umrah and Hajj, this becomes very, 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 very important to know. Especially if you are from those upper category who has a hotel in the first row.
This 27th day, especially sometime in here,
Yes. No. So the 27th, yeah? Alhamdulillah. Or if you go to visit the clock tower nowadays, the clock tower in Mecca, there is a fantastic museum on the top there. That's just on a side note. I had the opportunity to go there last October. An absolutely mesmerizing museum up in the clock tower. I mean, you can agree or disagree about the whole clock tower and whether it should be there or not. That's a different thing. But now it stands. It's there, right? That museum, it costs quite a bit. 33 pounds per person, I think. But it's really, really nice. You can take a lift all the way to the top, and then there's a museum on 3 floors. And it's really, really nice. Well done, about really a high standard. And then you can go out at the end and you go on the terrace and you can see something that is just, they know because I send them the pictures and the videos. The Kaaba from up there. Now the point is, what if Maghrib catches you up there? Are you praying up there and the Imam is literally like, 600 meters below you? You can barely see the people, let alone make up whether they do ruku or not. Are you following them or not? You see that we are coming into the audio is there. They have the audio up on there. There's a loudspeaker. You can hear every word. Yes. In fact, you can hear it twice. You can hear it from the audio, and then you can hear the sound coming from down as well a second later, because the sound from down needs a little bit time until it travels to you, right? So you hear everything twice. Actually, in Mecca, you hear it 3 times or 4 times, because you know how in Mecca is Allahu Akbar Imam, and then Allahu Akbar, the Muezzin repeats the, right? So you hear everything 4 times, twice from the speaker and then twice from coming. So in general, and this is really, really, really simplified here, but in general, the Hanafis say major barriers invalidate Salah. Major barriers invalidate Salah. So if someone was to pray if the Imam and the congregation is on one side of the river, and you're on the other side of the river, and there's ships in between, that doesn't count. You can't follow the Imam on this side of the river. If the Imam is on one ship and you're on another ship, you can't follow him. If the Imam is in the masjid and you are in a building opposite the masjid, and in between there is a path where there is carriages and people and things like that, you cannot follow the Imam in the masjid. Can you see where we're going with this? Major barriers invalidate Salah congregation. Yes? You cannot follow the Imam like that. That is the Hanafi position, generally speaking. I mean, there's a lot of details here, but I'm speaking in general terms. The Shafi'is, let's go with the Malikis. The Malikis are the most forthcoming here. The Malikis say as long the Salah is valid with a barrier, as long as one can follow the Imam. As long as one can follow the Imam. And there's details. Sometimes, or some of the scholars in that madhab and those who follow this opinion, they say they need to be able to see someone who follows the imam. That's one opinion. And sometimes they say, no, you don't need to see. What you need to be able is to follow the imam, even if it is just hearing. Yes?
So TV.
TV, no. So sorry, what do you mean by TV? Like I'm here and following the imam in Mecca? No, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. Generally, I don't like TVs in this particular thing.
Natural hearing.
Natural hearing, yes. Or microphone, live hearing, basically. Right. So the question here is, if it is live from here to the second floor, that may be something that you can do. Yeah, I think in East London Masjid they have established something like that, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, but they, according to Malikis, some Malikis, as long as you can follow the imam, generally speaking, even if it is just by listening, the salah is valid and you can do it. So according to that opinion, and I'm not saying these are all the Malikis, but according to that opinion, can a woman who lives next to the masjid follow the jama'ah in her house? According to that opinion, yes, she can. Can you see this? If she lives next to the masjid and she's not in front of the imam, she's next to the masjid, on the right, on the left, behind, and she can follow the imam because it's loudspeaker, that salah would be valid, according to this opinion.
There are no other conditions, for example, even in this masjid.
I'm saying, according to this opinion, this is a valid salah. No more conditions. There are some scholars who said, and amongst them from the contemporary scholars is Sheikh Abdulaziz Al-Fawzan. Just recently I watched a fatwa. He's very forthcoming in that sense. They say there is no established dalil. There is the Malikis or some of the Maliks who say that this is valid, and there is no established dalil to prevent it. Why would we do it? Because we would invalidate all other salah. Now we're not speaking about fadila here. We're not speaking about what is better. The only thing we're speaking about, is it valid? Right? We're not speaking about the reward. Everyone agrees that if you can, you should. Not if you can, but you should walk. I mean, sometimes when we go Umrah and our hotel is far away and we are late for salah, may Allah forgive us. We're late for salah. Imam starts. And we can see people praying like a kilometer away from the masjid. Right? And I'm walking, the Safa are not connected. You could go. And I'm walking. I have two options here. I can join them, or I can start walk until I come to the last Saf, which is connected to the front. What is better? Walk. Even if you miss a rak'ah, 2 rak'ah, 3 rak'ah, walk. Walk. إتمام الصفاء. إتمام الصفوف من تمام الصلاة. Does it make sense? Yes? So that is better. I'm not talking about what is better. I'm talking about what is valid. According to Imam Malik, or some Malikis, this salah is valid. According to the Hanafis, it is invalid. Sorry? Except during Jum'ah, because in the Maliki Mazhab they say, للجمعة الجامع شرط للجمعة. الجامع شرط للجمعة. يعني الجامع, the masjid al-jami' is a condition for Jum'ah. That is khas for them, and that's why I say the exception for Jum'ah is established. So for Jum'ah they would say the sufuf have to be muttasila. So if the jami' is full, then you have to sort of complete the sufuf, generally speaking.
So isn't for what I was referring to is that if you're praying in congregation in the masjid.
Second?
If you're praying in congregation in the masjid and you've got 2 floors.
Yes.
The first row is complete here. Obviously you've got so many empty rows and people go upstairs.
Yes.
So would the prayer still be valid then, even though there's lots of spaces here?
Again, let's finish this and then come back to that. Yeah. So what did the Shafi'is say? The Shafi'is generally have the same opinion like the Malikis here, except that they have some more conditions. So some of the Shafi'is say that you need to see the imam. So not the imam, someone who follows the imam. They have conditions about inside the masjid and outside the masjid. There's more details and more conditions to it. And the Hanbalis are pretty much like the Hanafis here. Major barriers invalidate the salah of the ma'mum. So the Hanbalis and the Hanafis join here in terms of opinions. Whilst the Malikis and the Shafis are a little bit more relaxed, and the Malikis are the most relaxed here. Does it make sense? Now, me personally, when it comes to these things, and I'm coming back to your question now. Me personally, I'll try always to walk as much as possible to do itmam al-sufuf. Complete the saf, walk forward, even if I miss a rak'ah or 2 or 3, as long as I will catch the jama'ah, I will try to go as much and complete the saf as much as possible. Does this make sense? Yes? But in terms of validity, now there's a difference between action and making someone's salah invalid. In terms of validity, I will take the Maliki opinion here. Does it make sense? I will not say to anyone your salah has become invalid because you prayed on the second floor and on the first floor there was some sufuf still empty. I will regard this as a valid salah, but it would have been better if you come down. So the action would be to come down. That is the sunnah, that is better, that is what I would encourage you to do. But I would never invalidate a salah. Even as much as if you're blessed once, that you have a hotel room with a view onto the haram, for example. And let's say your wife, your sister, your daughter, for whatever reason doesn't go out. Maybe woke up late and, you made wudu and the imam already started and she's late and she prays in the hotel room. Now, is that a valid salah or not? Well, according to the Hanafis, no. According to the Hanbalis, no. The Hanbalis have two opinions. They say if the sufuf are connected all the way to the bottom of the hotel, it will be valid. If the sufuf are connected all the way to the bottom of the hotel, it will be valid. Does it make sense? But let's say they're not. Let's say you're not going in Ramadan. So the Hanbalis say, no, you have to go out and go in front. Yes, because it's not part of the masjid. Even if you can see some people praying, you should go down and go in front. I would still not invalidate that salah. Why? Why? You see, to establish salah is one thing, but to invalidate salah is another thing as well. So for both you need proof. For both you need proof. It's the same like we were talking about wudu. If you say this invalidates wudu, you can't just say it like that. This is ibadah. To establish something, to neglect, to deny it, or to make it invalid, or to establish it, for both you need proof. And for me, it's just that there is no clear-cut, strong enough proof to invalidate someone's salah. Does it make sense? I can tell you, if it is not like that, thousands of people every year would have their salah invalidated. Thousands of people, especially if you live in Mecca and Medina and you've seen, or you go Hajj, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Literally, thousands of salah are automatically invalidated because there's so many people who pray. They come out of the shops and they just put the mats down and they pray. And so, is it correct what they're doing? I would say no. I would say go in front. Why are you missing out? Go leave 2 minutes earlier. Go on into the masjid. The reward is bigger. This is the sunnah. This is what you should be doing. But is it invalid? Difficult for me to say it's invalid. So we have to judge between action and invalidating someone's salah. I hope you can see the difference here. Yes.
So what's the evidence for the Hanafi and the Hanbali opinion and Maliki and Shafi in terms of?
Well, the generality of the words of the Prophet ﷺ at the beginning of Salah, that when he was saying "Stawu, tadilu," come close the gaps of the rows, etc. So these are understood to be orders. So if you don't do it, you're sort of going against that. And also the fact that the Imam has been established to be followed. Now, what exactly do you mean by followed? is that following if you are on the other side, like a kilometer away from the Imam, and is that still considered to be following? So this is the fiqh behind it. Okay, and obviously it's a lot of give and take. It's one of those masail which go really, really deep. So I'm trying to summarize it in as simple terms as possible. Right, I think that is enough for today, inshallah. Well, we have some more questions left, inshallah, but we'll catch up with them next week, inshallah. Like, for example, this one: where should the ma'moom stand in relation? Actually, these are quick ones. We can finish them with. Where should the ma'moom stand in relation to the imam, and what happens if he stands somewhere else? So, if you are only you alone, you and the imam, where do you stand? What next? What means next? On the right side of the imam, on the right side. That is established. The difference is only if you go slightly behind him or parallel to him. That's the only difference. Yeah? Me personally, I think you should stand exactly on the same line. Heel to heel, next to the imam. Because there is no evidence that the person who prayed next to the Prophet ﷺ, that he was anywhere behind him. But there are some ulama who say that you should be slightly behind him. Why? So that there is no possibility of being in front of the imam. Can you see this? Yeah. So that's the only difference. So the right side is established in the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. What if you stand on the left? Is your salah valid? Valid or not valid? It's valid. Is it the way you should be doing it? No. The action is on the right side. That's the sunnah. If you stand on the left, though, your salah is valid. If you stay behind, the majority of scholars say it's valid. Majority of scholars say it's valid. Again, it's not what you should be doing, but it will be valid. Does it make clear? And the last questions I have for today is: how many people minimum constitute a congregation? How many? 2 people count as jama'ah or not? Yes or no? Yes, it counts. Okay, 2 people constitute a jama'ah. And that is important, especially for people who pray at home. If you pray at home, tell your son, tell your daughter, tell your wife to join you for salah. If you live far away from a masjid and you pray, why you pray alone? Establish the jama'ah in your house. The reward is bigger. We spoke about the reward of jama'ah. Why do you pray? Why do you pray alone? The daughter prays alone, the wife prays alone, the husband prays alone. Why? Come together as a family, pray jama'ah.
What age should be for imam?
Sorry?
What should age will be for imam?
The age of the imam.
Age, yeah.
That's a very interesting question. But it's a long question for today, inshallah. Okay, there's a difference of opinion whether a boy who hasn't reached the age of bulugh can be imam or not. It's a famous opinion. Difference of opinion. Okay? You wanna know my one?
Yeah, please.
Don't do it. Only people who have reached bulugh, inshallah.
Yeah.
But there is evidence in the hadith which would suggest the contrary, and then debate starts after that. There is a huge debate. So if that does happen, if you come, in some countries it happens, especially in Taraweeh, where they put youngsters forward who may not have reached yet the age of bulugh. Somebody memorizes the Quran by the age of, 10, 11, and they want to put him in front because of his sweet voice or whatever, right? It happens in a lot of countries.
They want to learn his Quran.
Yes. So do you join or not join? It goes back to that, basically. Me personally, I would not put in front somebody who hasn't reached the age of bulugh. But the difference of opinion is valid. And it all goes back to one incident that happened during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, where a boy did lead the salah. A boy who hasn't reached the age of bulugh did lead the salah. But the Prophet ﷺ wasn't there. So some scholars say, see, this is proof. He led the salah and the Prophet ﷺ must have heard about it. And the others say, well, why do you say he must have heard about it? And there's a debate, okay? So this is where we're going. So me personally, especially for fard, sunnah, sometimes you can sort of get away with, but especially for fard, don't put forward youngsters who haven't reached the age of bulugh yet. Wallahu ta'ala. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
So I should mention that you can still establish Jama'ah in the house. With the reward of the 27 times that in that narration, is the reward still the same as like in the masjid in the congregation if you do it at home?
Fadlullahi wasi'. Inshallah. I'm not the one who gives the rewards. I'm not the one. But the Prophet ﷺ reported from Allah that Allah said, Allah is as his servant thinks he is. So if you hope for the reward, there is hope for the reward. Bismillah ta'ala.
The hadith isn't exclusive to.
The hadith speaks about jama'ah, and this is a jama'ah. Now, having said that, there may be additional reward when you go to the masjid, even if you live far away. So every step towards the masjid counts. Every step away from the masjid counts on the way home. That's just one. Being inside the masjid, every second counts. After the masjid, sitting down making dhikr inside the masjid counts. So there's additional rewards when you go to the masjid, but the reward for the jama'ah itself, inshallah, should be established. Wallahu ta'ala. No.
Just say if it's a quick one or not. The tapping of the shoulder when you're in a two congregation and then the third person joins, and then moving back or staying in line. When they can say no, you want to say that for next week or so. When they join the third person, they tap
yes,
the shoulder and then,
it's valid. It's an established adab. Let's put it this way: that if the imam prays and there's a person next to him, and you want to join this jama'ah, so you tap someone on the shoulder that he knows, step back, please, I want to join you. That's fine.
and you can't do the reverse when the imam moves forward.
The established sunnah is that the ma'mum should step back, but there may be situations where that is not possible, and the only possibility would for the imam to step forward. Then this would also be valid, but it's the second choice. First choice is for the ma'mum to step back. No. Any other questions? Do we have questions online? Ooh, we have questions online. So the question is that if you have prayed Fard Salah at home and then you find out that the congregation is going on in the masjid, whether you can pray again the same Fard Salah in the masjid. This is how I understand the question. Do you understand it's like that? Yeah, generally no. Khalas. Once you have prayed your Fard has been established. What you can do is, if you find yourself inside the masjid, let's say you have prayed the Fard Salah and you're inside the masjid, and you have already prayed, and then you come to know that the people haven't prayed yet, and now they're starting to pray. What do you do? Okay, you have two choices. You have three choices, really. Walking out of the masjid, keep on sitting, or join the jama'ah with the intention of nafil, because you've prayed already fard. The first one wouldn't be correct, walking out of the masjid. The second one wouldn't be correct as well. The hadith is very clear about it. And there is an incident where exactly that situation happened. And the Prophet ﷺ went to those, there was a group of Sahaba. They didn't pray. They were in the masjid. The Prophet ﷺ asked them, why didn't you join the Jama'ah? And they said, we prayed already. He said, you should have joined us. With what intention? Intention of nafil. Don't just sit in the masjid. Okay? That is the main Jama'ah though. That's the main Jama'ah. There's no counting if somebody is late and then establish another Jama'ah and then you have to join. No. The main Jama'ah, the Imam of the masjid prays the main Jama'ah. Right? That's what we're talking about. I hope inshallah that.
In terms of that question,
Yes.
He
He could, if he wants. Yes. He could join them and join them with the intention of nafil. That is possible. But do you re-pray a fard which you have prayed already? No, you don't do that.
If you know, in the past, you have the habit of catching up what you missed when you were younger age, for example.
As in qada?
Yeah.
Qada of salah?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, in that case, you would still do it with that intention of qada of salah. Yes, but that's a different question. We spoke about that quite some time ago, whether someone should repeat the salawat that you have missed in the past or not. And there's the well-established difference of opinion. But yes, if you have a kind of an intention like that, and a program that you make up your salah, then that would be something that you can do. Yeah. Okay. Well, Jazakallah khair for your patience, mashallah. I know that I'm trying to always end on time, but if you are fit and you want to go on, inshallah, I don't mind. Especially the youngsters, mashallah, tabarakallah. Jazakallah khair for your patience, mashallah. I think there's a huge thing, and so I'm really happy to see a lot of youngsters here, and I hope it's not too complicated, because if it is, then the last thing I want to do is to make fiqh complicated for anyone. So if that happens, you need to tell me, inshallah. We want to keep it simple, inshallah. But I want to show you the extent of fiqh as well. Not just one opinion, I want to show you the extent of fiqh, so that you know if you see something else, that you know that there is an opinion like that. Especially in this age of what we call globalized fiqh, or globalization of fiqh. I don't want to call it Googleized fiqh. that would be too much. But it is a thing, right? In the past, you have your own madhab in that country, and you stick to it. And I would still say the same. If you live in those kind of countries where you have one predominant madhab, stick to the madhab. Stick to the madhab, learn the madhab. But London is such a melting point that it's still good to stick to a madhab. That's how fiqh is learned. And there's so many courses out there which teach you this, and this is good. And I encourage you to go and read, in the madhab of your father, your mother, your origins. But this particular course here is to show you the extent of fiqh. I want to show you the other side of it. I don't want to even call it fiqh or sunnah. I want to call it the fiqh, the extent of it, that you can see that there are other opinions. Because I am so sick to see people debating about things that have been established in the fiqh of Islam. Why are we debating about that? Why are we debating of the hands here or here or here? And then all of these things. Why are we debating about these things? Masjid al-Aqsa is bleeding. Are we debating about where to put our hands? And then we have entire YouTube channels. Look at the Imam. Recently I've seen that. Abu Bakr al-Shatari. When he prayed in Jeddah, they filmed him and he put his hands here. Look at the Imam. This is the Saudi Imam. First of all, he's not the Saudi. He's a Yemeni Imam. But never mind. He put his hands here. What do you say now? No problem. What am I going to say? What am I going to say? Khalas, here is valid. Here is valid. It's all fine. We spoke about it. There's no one hadith which actually establishes where to put that. There's no one authentic hadith about that. And we are debating as if this is going to, Ya Allah, come on. Have a little bit more fiqh and know that these differences have been there. وجزاكم الله خيرا وصلى اللهم وسلم وزد وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.